Man, I love Scaly Bros. These boys have taken down everything I've thrown at them. I'm farming +4 difficulty bosses, no issues. I threw them at higher difficulty Arbiter, Zesht, no issues, none at all. And to me, in order for me to feel like a build is an overall solid, I feel like the final test is a juiced breach. If a build can actually handle breach, not get overwhelmed, and genuinely fully clear the breach so where you're not leaving any splinters or rare mobs on the table, that's the sign of an overall solid build. And surprisingly, Storm Mages actually were able to handle that too. Now I know, I am glazing the hell out of them, but when something works out the way you pictured it, man, that dopamine hits and it lasts for days. And that's what I feel about the Storm Mages. But for the record, if you're still playing Volgards and you're wondering, well, why should you play these instead? Well, the first big thing is, well, look at this. And now look at this. After playing Volgards for 6 hours, my eyes and my head hurt. But for Storm Mages, they cast Arc, which means good visual clarity, instant damage. Their clear is better than Volgards. However, Volgards definitely have better single target. But even then, it's not like the skeletons were struggling. Like I said, they've downed all the bosses I've thrown them at. So to me, right now, I think Storm Mages are the best minion in the game. Side note, yes, I am still looking for an overpowered Spectre. I'm 6-link testing. So far, it's not really going well, but I'll keep trying. Now the big elephant in the room is, well, should you play this as a Lich or an Infernalist? The short answer is, it doesn't matter. The longer answer is that, well, with a Lich, you'd obviously scale the extra chaos damage. And that actually is really good, since they're not igniting, they're not doing any poison damage, it's just on-hit damage from Arc. So you can easily scale them with the extra chaos from Unholy Might, and if you want to go a step further, you can use these extra chaos damage rings to really push them down that chaos archetype, scaling with Withering Presence, Despair. Personally, I'm a fan of Infernalist, but that's mostly just because of the extra spirit and the usefulness of the Hellhound. Overall, if I had to say which one's better, I would probably say it's Lich for Storm Mages. But as you can see in the background, I really don't think it matters which one you pick, just play whichever gives you the most dopamine. Now, this is the part where I would break down some cool mechanic or some secret tech we're using, but I mean, come on, look at these guys. They don't have a brain cell between them. They do lightning damage, they cast Arc, that already solves their clear. Everything I'm doing on the gear and support gems is just to make it so that they can down rare mobs instantly and they can handle the endgame bosses. One thing I do need to mention though before I go over gear and gems is how you manage your spirit. This is something I've had to really learn while playing these guys, because at a certain point, getting a 14th skeleton isn't always the best choice for damage. For example, right now I have 13 skeletons. Let's say I was about to buy some new gear. I could try to get another plus level to my minions, or I could try to get more spirit for another skeleton. Which option is better? A 14th skeleton will only give me 7% more damage. Another level to my skeletons overall would give me 11% more damage. What I'm saying is, after the 10th skeleton, you'll start to get diminishing returns, so just keep that in mind. Now that you know that, this makes it a little bit easier for me to explain my support setup, because I have one skeleton that does no damage. So what's his deal? His entire existence, his goal in life, is just to apply shock and exposure. You could probably run 2 of these guys to make the exposure and shock more consistent, but for now, I've just been running one. Stormfire's here because as an Infernalist, I have a Hellhound. And since he ignites anything he's near, the idea is I just need a skeleton to shock a boss one time. And in theory, as long as the dog's near the boss, he should be shocked for the entire fight. In theory. Sometimes the dog just wanders off or the boss dashes away, so it's not perfect, but it works most of the time. There is a new support gem that I'm utilizing, so if you don't know about this new tech, I guess, I'll break it down real quick so we're on the same page. In my opinion, Muster is the best damage support in the entire game. It has little to no downside, and all you need to do is run some extra cheap minions. That's why I have a Terracotta Soldier here. He costs 10 spirit, and thanks to Muster, he is giving me 7% more damage just for existing. Now Muster does say persistent minion, so for example, the Hellhound does give us extra damage. Skeletal Clerics work, the Storm Mages themselves count as a persistent minion, along with the free skeletons I'm getting from my Rattling Scepter. In total, that's 28% more damage. Feels good, man. Just keep in mind, only one of each gem counts to the 7%, which means only one Spectre gem will count to the bonus damage, only one copy of the Storm Mages will count to the damage. Down here, I am running the Blink and Convalescent Spirit gems, but they're in my offhand. This way I don't have to spend the Spirit on my main hand. If you don't know how to do that, you just go in here, select Weapon 2 for these 2 Spirit gems, and on your other abilities, set them to Weapon 1. So when you're in a map and you're absolutely getting beat to hell, Just press Convalescence, that'll weapon swap you, you can blink out, and then you should ideally be safe. The rest of the support gems are pretty basic, so I will hover over them so at least you can see them in the video. In the meantime, I have talked about what Storm Mages are really good at, but obviously nothing's perfect, so what are they bad at? Indoor maps. But I mean, that's just a minion AI thing, I guess. You can try to command them around corners, sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't. So to be honest, I pretty much just stay away from maps like Augury and just all indoor maps in general. Aside from that, Simulacrum was rough. I did attempt it, but if it ever rolled things like Bleed or Ignite, the skeletons stood no chance. They had the damage, they just couldn't survive. And when they die, that means you're running around for, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds just waiting for them to respawn. Not a great experience. I added points, tried to make them tankier. Couldn't really make them work for Simulacrum. So out of everything I've tested, I think Simulacrum is the only thing I would say probably don't waste your money and try Simulacrum with these guys. Alright boys, so let's talk about the gear and kind of, the general idea behind the character. Like when I was playing Volguards, I said I was scaling HP and I was trying to stack spirit. And the biggest reason is because, Volguards were 50 spirit cost. So the spirit cost was so high. Well, Storm Mages are only 36 spirit. So I didn't feel the need to, try to min-max and really push Baitat's will, stacking health. Which meant Energy Shield becomes a lot more appealing, right? On top of that, we're relying on Convalescence to really, clutch up and save us. And then just a fat ES pool with a lot of Energy Shield recharge to keep us out of, danger most of the time. My Energy Shield recharge delay is only 1.47 seconds. Most of the time, I get hit, the mobs die, I recharge by the time I get to the next pack, we're chilling. So that's kind of the core idea of the character. So starting off, we have a thing called a Trench Timber. This is a mace, and it has +2 minion skills on it. You can socket in a Soul Core of Escapa? I don't know, I tried. I would probably tell you don't bother corrupting on this, trying to get, like +3 or some more spirit. There's a better option. I didn't buy it because I'm pretty much done with the character, but you can get a Sun Crest, Sun Fire, I don't know, future me put it on the screen. And the idea behind that shield is you can get +3 lightning, which obviously is better than +2 minions. Then you can get your choice of max res, which is insane. And since it's a shield, you get block chance, which means you could go over here in the tree and get the block wheels. So it's absolutely an insane item. It opens so many options for you. But like I said, I'm done with the characters, so I'm not going to spend, 6 or 7 divines on something that I would only wear for maybe 3 hours. For the scepter, the best base is Skeletal Warrior Minion, then the Malice base, and then after that I'd probably say Discipline. I have a +4 fracture. I didn't buy this, I crafted it myself. I crafted a couple. This is the only one I hit a fracture on, so cool. But honestly, it's pretty mid. I spent like a divine worth of chaos rolling it, and I was just aiming for spirit. In my opinion, level of minions is the most important. Then after that I'd say spirit, then % damage, and then you can pick your choice between cast speed and one of the crit modifiers. The only thing I'll say is that a +3 minion skills scepter can be better than what I'm wearing. For example, if you had a +3 with 60% spirit, 70 to 80% damage, and on top of that you had one of the crit or cast speed modifiers, that would be better than what I'm wearing. Keep that in mind when you're looking at scepters, that a +3 could be better than a +4. Now if you're wondering, how do you craft this or something, there's no way to target it. It's just RNG. I'm just crafting with essences, nothing special. The two glaring obvious things here are the Ventors. I am stacking some rarity. The biggest reason I'm running these is because obviously spirit and rarity. I wanted to get to about 70 to 80% rarity. It just made sense to go ahead and go get Ventor's Gambles. So I was wearing 2. I did try an Ingenuity. I didn't really like it. I felt like just 2 solid Ventor's Gambles were good enough. And these were like 1 to 2 divines each, something like that. The helmet, mandatory, +2, and then just get as much ES as you can. Same thing with the boots. You're just rounding out your res and your ES. And then the chest piece. I think I spent about 4 to 6, something like that. It's just, ES, spirit, and res. Nothing special, nothing amazing. I don't really think there's a unique chest that's really worth it. I did try to make a Mortier Invictus, the chest from Arbiter. I tried to make that work. It just didn't really have enough ES, so there's really no secret here. Just get spirit and scale it on up. Your belt's just capping off your res. There's nothing really useful to get here. Can't get ES on belt, so work with what you got. In a perfect world, I would recommend that you get 2 charm belt. I only have 1, and I would say stun and bleed. Stun, bleed, or ignite. One of those. I don't even know if there is a bleed charm, but the number one thing that actually almost killed me or would kill me was actually bleed. Everything else was completely fine, but bleed, number one thing that almost always would just kill me. For the Ascendancy, it doesn't really matter which order you go in. If you have capped fire res, then just take Altered Flesh, Betat's Will, and then you can choose between the Hellhound or Betat's Hand. It doesn't really matter. The first thing I want to mention though, because I know a lot of people, won't see this, this node I think is bugged, or reservation works different in PoE2 than it is PoE1. But this says that it should be on full life. Technically right now I am on full life, but PoE2 doesn't treat you like you're on full life. So this is 50% recharge for me, and I'm not doing anything. I put the amulet on and I have 50%. You can see my recharge is 1.7. If I take it off, it goes all the way up to 2.19. It should not go to all the way to 2.19 because this 30% shouldn't work. So what I'm assuming is that reserved HP is making it so I'm quote unquote not on full life. If this was PoE1, this was not how this would work, but otherwise it's 50% recharge for one, cheap Ascendancy. It's like 60 exalts for this. It's insane. That's crazy. It shouldn't work that way probably, but it does, so I'm using it. The rest of the tree is, pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go over every single detail. You can obviously see yourself, and there's obviously a link in the description for the build. Like I said, for the shield, if you want to wear the shield and you're investing into it, this wheel over here is a big consideration. I would probably even drop ES nodes to go get this. This will give you more survivability than that. Otherwise, we are scaling crit. There's not a lot of crit nodes, and you can't anoint this anymore, so that kind of sucks. If you're scaling presence of area effect with a Lich, you'd probably want these nodes. And that's pretty much it. For the jewels, they're all minion damage and minion attack and cast speed. The last thing I would get on them would be recharge. I think on this one I do have recharge. But that's pretty much it. Minion damage, attack and cast speed, that's all you're looking for. And that should be pretty much it. Alright, and if you're curious, this is my experimental gear set. This is like the budget, broke boy, tried it out, didn't work. This is missing ingenuity and the helmet. I resold the helmet, but it was just this helmet with like 100 less ES. I was wearing a Warrior Invictus, like I said. I was trying to get global defenses and res, and it was just supposed to be like a cheap option, like 15 exalts to give me my res capped and stuff. So if you're dirt broke, this is an option. Just general rings, res life, generic boots, and then garbage gloves. And this set, was like less than a divine or something like that. And this is what I started with. I was farming T15 maps. I wasn't blasting them yet because I was squishy. I only had like 3k ES, but it was enough to get started. So if you're really struggling, I consider running this kind of a setup. But otherwise, that's it. Good luck. Have fun. I love these. These are my favorite minions for sure, but it's time to move on to better and hopefully greater things. Have a good one. I'll catch you later.